Hello everybody, my name is Strimtom and here today I want to teach you about legendary weapons and class items in the Lord of the Rings Online. This guide is intended to be an introductory guide to teach you the basics about legendary items and is designed for players that are under the level of 100. If you are over the level of 100, then you're going to be thinking about imbuing your weapon, which is an entirely separate video because it's much more complicated. But in this video today, we are just going to be focusing on specifically getting your legendary item up to par and being able to just get started with the system. So, legendary weapons. The absolute first thing you need to know is, where do you get one? When do you start getting one? Well, to answer that question, we're going to go all the way out to the world here. And if you want to start and get yourself a legendary weapon, you're going to head over to a region, I don't know. You head over to Eregion, and then down here you go to Echad Dunan, which is on the south side of Eregion. You get to Eregion through the Trollshaws, so you kind of you leave Rivendell, you go south, you go through either the Giant Valley, or you can go down here through Tal Brunnen, come into Eregion, and then head over to Nan Sirnin and Echad Dunan. Then there's going to be a dwarf who's going to give you a quest to get inside of Moria. No, I don't want to spoil anything, but through the progress of the quest, you help the dwarves enter Moria and at the same time also unlock your legendary weapon and your class item. So you're going to have a legendary weapon and you can start using it to do stuff. So that's how you get started. If you are doing that, that starts around level 45, so you can go ahead and get your legendary weapon. Now, let's just say you've already got your legendary weapon, you're not entirely sure how it works. I'm going to quickly go through and explain exactly in detail what it is. To start, every single time you pick up a legendary item, they have to come unidentified, so they don't tell you what the stats are on the item. Whether you pick up one for your class or another class is completely random. It just happens to randomly drop, so make sure if you're picking stuff up from other classes, you are able to get rid of these. I know you can't sell them, but I'll show you how to get rid of them shortly here. But for all intents and purposes, I have a Captain's Emblem of the Third Age, level 100, that I picked up off of a monster. Generally, monsters that are humanoid type are going to be dropping legendary items, whereas animal type monsters won't drop legendary items so often. So, I have myself this item here, this Captain's Emblem of the Third Age. it's unidentified, so we're going to go identify it and look at some of the features of legendary weapons and how they work. So I'm going to go to the crafting hall here. I'm using the 21st hall as an example because it's a great area that's got everything I need, and also it's where you sort of get introduced to legendary items. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to open up the legendary forge with the Forge Master. The Forge Master, quiet you. The Forge Master kind of deals with all of the unidentified items. So I can identify everything if I want. So I'm just going to go down here, select all. It's going to cost me 2 gold, and identify. So there's all the items identified already. Bam, look at that. So I have all these things. Now that I've identified it, you can actually see the stats on the item. So this Captain's Emblem of the Third Age says it's got Rallying Cry healing, Vocal Skills healing, and Valiant Strike healing. However, if I would like to use it, I have to have an empty slot in my Legendary Items panel. You can access it by bringing up this menu here and then clicking Legendary Items, or it's Shift-I. I is inventory and Shift-I is Legendary Items. As well, if you'd like to make it more convenient to have stuff on your track here, as I have, you can click this little down arrow to customize your toolbar slots, and I set legendary items here instead of, I think it was help that was here before, so I can get access to my legendary items very easily by just clicking this button. So, I have to slot an item. The reason you slot an item is because items and legendary items level with you. They gain experience as you gain experience. The way that they gain experience is if they are slotted. If an item isn't slotted, then it's not going to be leveling up. And the items are designed to level up with you, so that way you can kind of, as you increase in power, so does your weapons. You're not replacing them too often. So let's look at this Captain's Emblem of the Third Age, and I'm just going to slot this item right here. Bam. So now that it's slotted, this is the basic screen. You can see I've got my Captain Emblem here. It tells me how much experience I need. I need 100 experience points. Depending on your level, that may be a 1 kill, that may be several kills. Generally, if you get experience, you get an equal amount of legendary item experience. So if 100 sounds really low, that's because it's not really a huge amount. So you get a whole bunch of different opportunities to just earn some item experience in different ways by just playing the game, killing monsters, doing quests, doing skirmishes, beating dungeons. Anything is going to give you experience. As well, I have my individual pieces here, the parts that are actually part of the leveling process. So the way that the legendary weapons work, at least before imbuement, so when you first get them, is that when they level up, you then earn points. So I have 0 available points, 0 to spend, because I haven't leveled up my weapon. But I can spend them on any of these things in here. So like Valiant Strike healing, I can see I get 1%, 1% Rallying Cry healing. This is going to affect my character while this item is equipped. So if I have this item equipped, my Valiant Strike heals for 1% more. That's pretty good. I'm planning on playing a healing type captain. It's got vocal skills healing. It's got rallying cry healing. This is everything I would want on a character. As well, I have tactical healing rating on my badge because I'm playing as a captain. If you're playing as another character class, you'll have sometimes different things in your class item, whether it's tactical damage rating, shield use rank for guardians, or if you're playing as a hunter or a warden, it's just DPS here. For weapons, their first ability is DPS. So just keep that in mind. DPS, damage per second, is pretty much the most important stat for weapons, so you want to make sure you're leveling that up. So how exactly do we get the points and how do the points work? Well, I'm going to use one of these runes here. These are Heritage Runes of Legend. You find Heritage Runes all over the place while just playing the game. You get them from doing dungeons. You get them from doing skirmishes. So I have these runes that I just got for playing the game, doing some deeds. And I'm going to take this and I want to apply it to my weapon. So I'm going to drag it and drop it over top of my weapon. This is not the only way to level it up. I just don't want to go do quests to level up my item. And then bam, it applies the item XP. It goes above the cap. So it says here, Reforge, and then 11,000. You can only level your item in increments of 10, at which point it's capped and you have to bring it to the Forge Master to Reforge. If you use an item experience item like this, it will go above the cap. However, if this says Reforge on it, I can't earn more XP. If I go and start fighting monsters, this will not keep leveling up because I need to Reforge it. But as you can see, I got my points, so I'm level 10, and look at that, I have 90 points to spend. So I got 10 additional points per level. Kinda cool. So if you put your mouse over each individual legacy, you can see this here. If I level up my Valiant Strike healing, it goes to 2% at rank 2, 3% at rank 3, 4% at rank 4, and it gets higher. However, the cost also goes up. It costs 4, then 6, then 9, then 12, then 16, so I won't be able to spend too many points on here. It costs a lot to actually level it up. The amount that a legacy costs is based on the legacy tier. You can tell which tier a legacy is by these little symbols here. The number of lines inside the symbol indicates the tier of the legacy, or if you put your mouse over it, it'll tell you legacy description, major tier 5. So this is a tier 2 because it's got 2 lines, major tier 2, or this is a tier 3 because it's got 3 lines, 1, 2, and 3. The higher the tier, the less it costs to increase. The tier of your legacy can go all the way up to 6. So by having all of your legacies at tier 6, it means they cost very little, so then you could potentially level them all up to full. So let's just spend some points here. I'm going to spend a point in Valiant Strike Healing. Just rank this up here. Rank this up here. Oh, ranking up Disable while visiting Forge Master. Whoops, I had this window open. I'm going to rank this up here. So boom, now it goes up. I get a 1% healing, and it costs even more. So I rank it up, and it costs more, and more, and more, and more, and more. And now I can't even rank it up anymore. It's too expensive. It costs 26 and I only have 22 points. So to get more points, you have to level it up. But I have to reforge this item. So what do? Well, to reforge something, you talk to the Forge Master. And you say, hello, Forge Master, I would like to reforge this. So while you reforge it, you can rename the item if you want. So I can call this the Badge of Explanation. So that way you guys can know what I'm talking about, and you're allowed to reforge the item. It gives you a cost. This might seem like a really expensive cost. This is just based on the level of your character and the level of the item. When you first start out, the costs are very, very little. When you're level 100, the costs get a lot higher. So this item right here, oh, this isn't what I wanted to reforge. I have a bunch of items to reforge. That's my bad. Gotta find the right one. There it is. So this is the item I wanted to reforge. So it's level 10, and I can reforge it. When you reforge the item, it does 2 things. Number 1, it allows it to increase in experience, so I can keep leveling it up. And number 2, it allows you to add another legacy. So if I look at my weapon right here, or my item, it's got 3 different legacies I can level up. This is now going to increase to 4. I can choose either Shadow's Lament Damage at tier 3, or Bleed Pulses at tier 1. My character is probably going to want Bleed Pulses because it's going to do more damage, so I'm going to take Bleed Pulses. Pulses means like an extra damage on the bleed. So for example, my improved cutting attack, it does damage every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. An extra pulse means it's going to hit 1 more time. So instead of blaring damage every 2 seconds for 20 seconds, it's every 2 damage for 22 seconds. Because every pulse is going to be an extra duration on the end. It's basically increased bleed duration, so they last longer. So that one can be kind of nice. And then there we have it. Now I've got a legendary item. I got some more points. It refunds. You can have it refund your points if you want. So that way you can like refund all the points that are on your item if you want to just try again. Say you put it into Valiant Strike Healing, and now you've got this Bleed Pulses, and you're like, oh, I want to put my points into Bleed Pulses. You can have it refund and give you all your points back. So that's pretty cool. And now I have a different legacy. The important thing to note here is this has a different color. This border here and this border here are different. This gold border means it is a major legacy, and this silver border means it is a minor legacy. Major legacies are just pull from the major legacy pool, and minor legacies pull from the minor legacy pool. It's not that minor legacies are bad, they're just different. And the reason why this is important is because later on, you'll be able to get legacy replacement scrolls, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So based on the tier of your legendary item, when, like let's just say you've got this item, and you don't want this anymore, you want to get rid of it, it's in your inventory, and you're already using this item right here, it's really good, I like this item now, I don't want to use this item here, because this gives 1% Valiant Strike healing, and this one gives 20.4% Valiant Strike healing, way better. So how do I get rid of this? The answer is going to not the Forge Master, but the Relic Master, who allows you to deconstruct all of your different individual legendary items. So, I'm just going to get rid of all these items out of my inventory that I don't need. I've got a Warden's Mace, a Guardian's Hammer, a Warden's Spear. I can't use these, so I'm just going to deconstruct all of them. So, deconstruct. By doing so, it gives me these little gems that we're going to talk about in just a minute here, but now they're all out of my inventory. So, if I want to make a spot, I can deconstruct any of these individual items that I have and kind of break it down, give myself an extra spot, and get some benefit out of it. Because deconstruction gives you a lot of really good things. You'll notice that difference between this item here, this level 11, and this level 61, is that this one has only, 102 points to spend and 4 different legacies. This item right here, that's level 60, because I've leveled up the whole way, it's got 6 legacies on it and 590 points to spend. So it's got way more points. So I can spend it all over the place in this item. When you deconstruct an item, which I'm about to do right now, I'm just going to do this right here. I got to reforge this thing. I'm going to reforge. Reforge this. Sure, let's put that on it. Whatever. Here we go. So when I deconstruct an item, you get different rewards based on the tier that you deconstructed to that. So this is maximum. This is the maximum level. This means when I deconstruct it, I'm going to get things back out of it. Basically, the amount of experience you put in, you essentially get back plus more things. So if I go here, and I see my item, this is the Captain's Emblem of the 3rd Age. I'm just going to call this box for now. So I'm going to close this, talk to this guy again, deconstruct, there's box. So now I know I want to deconstruct box. I want to get rid of this. So this thing, it's got all these effects, but you know what? I don't need Noble Mark damage. I don't need Devastating Blow and Pressing Attack damage. I'm just going to deconstruct this. So to start out, you just unlock it. All your items that are equipped are going to be set to locked. You can then deconstruct right here. So I deconstruct this item. It won't work. Sometimes you have to double click it. And when you deconstruct things, you get a reward based on the level. So if it's from level 1 to 30 before reforging, then you get some experience back and you get some of these relics. So you get settings, gems, and runes, which are things you can slot into your legendary weapon to give you more power. If it's level 30 after reforging and above, when you deconstruct it, you can extract a legacy from the item. So this box has Words of Courage, Power and Morale cost, Healing Critical Magnitude, Noble Mark damage, Bleed Pulses, Devastating Blow and Pressing Attack damage, and Time of Need buff duration. If I wanted to design a legendary item of my own, it would take forever by just identifying legendary items and trying to figure out, okay, what are the different things that I'm going to be getting on my legendary item? Trying to get all the stats that I want, like this badge right here, it's got Rallying Cry healing, Healing Critical Magnitude, Words of Courage healing, Vocal Skills healing, Melee Skills healing, Valiant Strike healing. If I wanted to get all of those healing effects on one item by just randomly identifying it, that would take a zillion years. Which is why, if you deconstruct an item that's level 30 or higher, you're actually able to take one of the legacies off of this, and it turns into a scroll you can apply to something else. So let's just look at something here. We've got all these are healing, that's good. And then I have, I don't know, let's just say Time of Need buff duration. We're going to take Time of Need buff duration because I think this effect is really good. I want to use it. I want to keep it on my item. I think that would be better than Bleed Pulses. So I'm going to take Time of Need buff duration right here, and I'm going to select it. So now what's going to happen, my item just disappeared, it's gone. I got a bunch of the different settings and gems and runes and stuff. And I got Legendary Fragments, which is used for crafting legendary weapons that crafters can do. I got the Legacy item, and I now have an item XP rune worth 902,000 item XP. Which, as I'm sure you can see, given that this only takes 27, it's a lot more item XP. You also get Scrolls of Renewal, which allows you to reset all of the points you spent. You don't really need these too often. They're pretty easy to come by, and they're also not bound to character, so you can generally buy them on the auction house if there's any that you don't, or if you need some more. So there we go. So now I have this minor like class legacy time of need buff duration. So I can put this onto pretty much anything that I want. So let's just say I have the badge of explanation here, and I want to replace bleed pulses. I can just go to the badge of explanation, apply, and then I can put this over top of bleed pulses. Here's the important thing, and this is why the major versus minor matters. This is a minor legacy. I can only replace a minor legacy with a minor legacy. But I can replace a major legacy with a major or a minor legacy. So a major can become a minor, but a minor cannot become a major. And this is a big deal because it means that, let's just say, if you look at the pool of legacies that you want, and a lot of the healing legacies, as an example, pretty much most of the Captain Healing legacies count as major legacies. If you wanted to get a badge like this, you wouldn't be able to do that because you kind of run into this major problem where it's like, well, these are all majors. I can't have 6 majors on my item. How am I supposed to do that? So you got to be really careful about, like, if you're going to be replacing something. You might want time of need duration, but if you replace this rallying cry, then all of a sudden it'll replace it. So you say yes, and now I have 2 minors and 2 majors. I can never get that back. So you got to be mindful about that during the leveling process. But that's pretty much it. So we're going to level this up one more time. I think I have that's 900,000. Ooh, do I have something that's not 900,000? I don't know how many of these it's going to take. 14, 17, 18, 20. Perfect. So now we're ready to reforge. So we go to the Forge Master. I say, hello, Forge Master. I'd like to reforge the badge of explanation. I'm going to go find it. And when I reforge this, I'm going to make sure I refund the LP just in case, and reforge. It allows you to select a new legacy. Again, so you'll notice I've got 2 minors here. Sometimes it gives you the option for a major. So if you're building into an item that you want to use for long term, you want to try to pick as many majors or figure out what the legacies that you want to use are. You can find the legacies, and there's a very helpful list on the Lord of the Rings wiki, so you can use that to your advantage. So I'm going to pick the legacy I want. These both suck, so I'll pick Last Stand Heal, I guess, because it doesn't really help my character, and now I have this badge here. In general, during the leveling process, if you can't get legacies that are helpful for your character, you're just going to be leveling up the tactical healing rating, which you always get off of your badge, or in the case of a weapon, the DPS, and then potentially if you have a good legacy on an item. Try not to stress too much about your legendary items, but that's essentially how you're going to be leveling it up. Now, something I skipped over was relics, settings, gems, and runes. You have these slots right here. You have the setting slot, the gem slot, the rune slot, and the crafted slot. You essentially can just put a setting in. As you saw, deconstructing items gives you the settings. So let's just say I deconstructed some of those items. I got tier 6 settings, so like gold setting of morale. The gold setting morale adds 250 morale, physical mastery, and tactical mastery, so it just gives me damage and health. It's a tier 6, so a tier 5, which is down here, the silver setting morale is 210 morale and some physical tactical mastery, but it's just a lower number. So every time you go up in tier, you get a bigger number. If you want to increase your tiers, you can use Relic Forging, where basically you just combine these relics. So let's say all the tier 1s, you can combine them and you get tier 2 relics. It's a 3-to-1. You combine the tier 2s to make tier 3s, and so on, all the way up until the tier 9s, which are the highest you can get through the Relic Forging system. There are better relics, but you get generally relics from dungeons, so you don't have to worry too much about actually getting relics from here. So that's kind of a lot of the basics about the legendary items. There are a couple questions that still need to be answered here, though, which is, so number 1, should you use legendary weapons? And the answer is, it depends. If you're doing the leveling process through the game, it depends on how quickly you're actually able to level. Legendary weapons do have the power to increase your statistics and make you a lot stronger. But it depends on whether you are leveling quickly through content and continuing to go up. If you level fast, legendary weapons have a minimum level on them. This item has a level 100 on it. But if you're just starting out, you might pick up a level 50 legendary weapon. A level 50 legendary weapon doesn't have as much damage as a 53 or a 56 or a 60. So you're constantly not only going to need to level up and upgrade your weapon, you're then going to need to get new weapons that have higher base damages that you can then level up from there. So if you're leveling quickly, you may just want to use regular weapons, like crafted weapons from weaponsmiths or things you get from quest rewards, although these items are still good. So it really depends on whether you should or should not be using them. I tend to level slowly. I like to sniff the flowers. I like to explore, all the little zones. So when I come into Moria, I explore all of the Great Delman. I explore all of the Silvertine lodes, and it gives me the opportunity to fully level up and flesh out my legendary weapon. So I generally tend to use it, but it really depends on whether you are going to be doing that or just kind of speed through the game. Speeding through the game, just use crafted items, but if you're sniffing the flowers, make sure you grab one of these legendary weapons. There's a couple things I didn't touch on. Number 1, or sorry, I just want to quickly wrap up the video. There are different tiers of legendary weapons. So right here, you can see I've got a reshaped Captain's Greatsword. It's got that yellow border there. There's third age items, which are purple. There are second age items, which are blue. And there are first age items, which are yellow. First age items are really rare. They generally only come from raids and hard content. Second age items can come from random drops and it can also be crafted fairly easily. And third age items literally come from anywhere. You just get them all over the place. The higher the age, or the lower the age, the closer to like the older the item. So if it's a first age item versus a second age versus a third age, the first age item is going to have the highest base stats. And first age items also allow you to get more points. So this item is level 60. This is a third age item. It's the maximum I can get. Third age items cap out at 590 points, whereas first age items get 710 points. So you get way more points to spend on a first age item than you would on a third age. On top of that, first age items happen to have individual stats. So like this first age greatsword has critical rating and in-combat power regen and power, versus a third age item that would have no additional stats. So first age items get higher stats, higher damage. They're nice, but they're very, very hard to come by. Generally, if you're leveling and not going to be doing raiding or playing on the legendary server, you won't get a first age item, but you might get a second age because you can craft them pretty easily by using your crafting if you happen to be a crafter, like my character is. I think I've got some stuff here. Oh, I didn't buy any of the legendary. I didn't buy any of the legendary stuff. Interesting. Thought I did. Well, look at that. Yeah, I thought I did that. I didn't. Anyway, but you can craft legendary items. Different classes can craft legendary things. Weaponsmiths craft the weapons. Woodworkers craft weapons. And then the rest of the legendary characters craft different things. So, for example, armorers craft captain's badges and metalsmith and guardian belts. Tailors craft runekeeper bags. So you just got to pay attention to what exactly items you're using on any individual character and what your legendary items are supposed to be like. And the last thing I want to show you guys off today, actually there's two more things. There's so many things with legendary weapons. The next piece is titles. So a title is something that goes into a weapon that changes it. I have the title Conflict of Elder Days. This changes the damage type on my weapon from common damage to Baleriand. As you can see there, it's got Baleriand. You generally, if you have a weapon, you want to change the damage type off of common damage. You don't want your weapons to be doing common because monsters resist common very heavily. So if you can get yourself a title, that's great. Ancient Dwarf damage is very, very easy to come by because if you just go over to Dolven View, there's some guys there's some quest guys that are right around here, right around the task board in Dolven View. If you talk to them and give them some infused garnets, which are currencies that you get here anywhere inside of Moria, you can get yourself some easy titles. You can also get yourself some easy titles in Lothlorien as well for doing Karas Galadhorn dailies. So there's a lot of good titles out there that change your damage type. Just make sure you take the time to change your damage type. As well, you can get titles for your legendary items like this, where I have Radiant Valor, which just gives me 5% increased light type damage, since my character does light type damage. So those are titles you can get. The weapon titles are the most important ones, though. As I said, if you're playing as any type of physical damage character like a hunter or a captain or a champion, you got to make sure you get the right title for your weapon. And as I said, you can get them out of Dolven View for infused garnets. And then lastly, I walked over the skirmish camp here because I wanted to look at what do you do about your legacies. So let's just say I have this item right here. It's my badge of explanation. It's really cool. But I want to get it really powerful. I want to get it the highest tier. I want to have the highest tier while leveling. Well, the way that you increase the power of your weapon is by getting scrolls of empowerment. So like this, the lesser scrolls of empowerment, which allow you to get increase the tier of a legacy. So you can just power up the tier of a legacy on your items pretty easily, and it's based on the minimum level of the weapon. So this works on weapons level 60, this works on weapons level 65, and that's like the level at which it takes to equip, not the actual like level of the weapon that you've leveled it up to, all the way up to Enphalas scrolls, which are for level 100 and up. I don't recommend you ever use an Enphalas scroll on a legendary item that you are not imbuing, which is for pass level 100, but that's why these are designed for pass level 100, so just keep that in mind. So I'm just going to grab an item here, actually. I'm going to grab a captain. Are there swords here? No, there's no swords here. I'm just going to grab a captain sword real quick, just to do one quick example with something that you can do with these items. Should have done this ahead of time, but I did not. If you need low-level weapons, as you saw, it was 2 medallions and 8 marks to buy a rusted dwarf tool. You can walk over to this captain trader right here. and I can buy a Captain Sword for some Rusted Dwarf Tool. Cool. So now I have this Captain Sword. I'm going to go identify it. I'm just going to show you how you can tier up your legacies and change some stuff. So I have... So I'll talk to this Forge Master here and say, hello, Forge Master, I'd like you to identify my Captain Sword. He identifies it, and it gives me some stats. So we're going to look at the stats right here. So now I have this Captain Sword. We're just going to slot it in. And it's got cutting attack damage, grave wound damage, and Captain Area of Effect healing. You're also going to notice it has DPS that can go up to 84.3 DPS. This is a two-handed, it would be more. If this is a first stage, it would be more. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to shove a Heritage Rune into my Captain Sword, which allows me to reforge it, because it has so much extra XP. So I'll reforge the Captain Sword. I'm going to add Make Haste Duration, because that makes my Make Haste, my running speed, last longer, which is fantastic. And now, as you can see, I've got lots of points to spend. I want to spend them on my weapon, but even though I've got lots of points to spend, I can't really spend them too efficiently or too effectively because, well, everything's got a low tier. So I can head back over to the scroll guy and tier up all my legacies by buying the Scrolls of Empowerment. So that way I can do that. Also, legendary weapons can level beyond 60 by getting a Scroll of Delving, which is another item you can get at the Skirmish Vendor. All the items that you get at the Skirmish Vendor also come out of dungeons, but the Skirmish Vendor is one of the best ways to get them. And again, this is for before level 100. I'm not talking about Amphalis Scrolls of Empowerment or the high-level items. I'm talking about the low-level items. This is designed for when you get started. So let's just say I want to tier up my Make Haste duration because I think that's awesome. So it's tier 3, so I'm going to buy 3 of these scrolls for some marks. And I'm going to use this scroll on my Captain Sword of the 3rd Age. I'm going to select Make Haste Duration, and then bam, now it's a tier 4. So now it costs 5, 7, 10, 14, 18, 24, 30, 36. Do it again. I'm going to put it on my Make Haste Duration, and now it costs even less. So it used to cost 36 at the top, now it only costs 27 at the top. And now I'm going to do it again. Make Haste Duration. Now it's a tier 6. And now look at that, it only costs 3 points to start out and 18 at the top. So I can just start ranking this up. And I can get it all the way to cap, and I still have 41 points available. So this adds 25 seconds to my Make Haste. So now my Make Haste, I'd have to put the weapon on. But if I put this weapon on, now my Make Haste lasts for 45 seconds. I can run around all over the place. Sometimes these weapons are really good for utility. You can do stuff like increase Make Haste duration as a swap. Sometimes you can do this as a Guardian too. You can have like increased stats, so you can consider weapon swaps later in the game if you want to. Having something like 45-second increased Make Haste duration can just make getting around town nice or moving through dungeons faster. If you're like me and you died repeatedly doing some featured instances and you have to run back from the start, having a weapon you can swap to like this, just in the legendary items here, that you can then make haste to run back through a dungeon, can be quite handy. That's pretty much the basics around legendary weapons. This is before level 100. For post level 100, imbuement, if you've already watched this video and you understand mostly what's going on, it changes things a lot, but we'll get there when we get there. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got for you today, so thank you for watching. If there's any questions or things that weren't made clear, leave a comment below and I'll try to clarify for you. But that's pretty much the basics of legendary weapons. If you like to sniff the flowers, make sure you use them and level them up. If you don't like to sniff the flowers and you just kind of like boom, 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 you want to get to level 100 or 120 as fast as possible, you likely won't be using legendary weapons until you hit level 100 when you start doing the imbuement system, which there will be a video for later. So thank you guys for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys later.